Underrated for its time and increasingly loved over time, the Sega Dreamcast is getting another upgrade thanks to the people at PixelFx. They've previously had the DC Digital as the HDMI solution, but their Retro Gem is now available for it as part of their one mod fits all consoles.
Man, stay off the light speed.
Hi,
C-Man.
here and
But enough about me.
today we're installing the Retro Gem for the Sega Dreamcast. This mod is a little challenging to install, so take your time as you go. Once we're done with the installation, we're going to do some caption comparisons, check out the video and sound quality of the mod, and give you my thoughts. Let's take a look at what we get. We have the main board, antenna, motherboard mounting bracket, video connectors, video flex cable, mounts for the HDMI port, and screws and nuts. We got one long flex cable, so let's tuck that back in so it doesn't get damaged. Time to tear down the Dreamcast and do all the prep work. We need to carefully remove the serial and AV ports, so take your time with this process. Line up a little flux and use my trusty soldering iron and solder wick to start removing the part. A little more flux, and now it's time for some hot air. I was able to sneak my tweezers below the port to slowly remove the piece. Finally, clean the pads. Let's prep the gem by starting the following pads: C, D, E, H, J, and K. Shield trimming. Use a marker to line exactly what section to cut from the top and bottom shields. Use a Dremel or a file to remove the sections, and remember to smooth out the edges. Set the motherboard mounting bracket between CE113 and CE203 at the bottom of the Dreamcast motherboard. Next, solder in place to both of the capacitors flush to the board. Clean up and remove the Kapton tape afterwards. We'll need to divide this piece in half. The shield will not be reinstalled. I'll be reinstalling the serial port half, but you have the option to reinstall either the AV port or the serial port. Locate these two resistors at the top of the Dreamcast motherboard next to the APU. Remove them and clean the area with IPA. Locate the via next to the label for pin 116 on the large CPU. Use a scratch pen to prep and place a bead of solder to it for later. With the prep work complete, lay it down and secure the flex ribbon cable onto the motherboard with some Kapton tape, carefully aligning the pins to the GPU and APU. Tack the cable in place at different points once you're satisfied. Dropping in a little flux, it's time to solder the cable in place. We have two resistors to our right and the GPU. Take your time and be sure not to have any bridges. At the APU, we have two solder points from the resistors we removed earlier, 3 capacitors, and the APU itself. Fold over the long lead of the flex cable so that the solder pad lines up with the bead we placed on the via earlier. Now, line up a little Kapton tape over the nearby vias to prevent any shorts and solder the lead in place. Next, fold the lead once more so that the two pads line up with the nearby caps by the controller flex port and solder both points. Clean it up, and that does it for the flex cable. I did things out of order, but connect the flex firm cable to the retro gem. Route the right ribbon over the underside of the gem and under the orange flex cable while positioning the antenna towards our left before securing the gem down using 2 of the screws. Now we need to flip things around and get the board back into the shell. Secure the HDMI port to its black case with the included nut and bolt. This can be tricky as the bolt is loose in its spot and doesn't want to stay. Carefully fold the white flex cable under the HDMI port and fit it into place along the shell. It'll float there until you secure it down in place with the top heat shield and screws. I'm going to secure the Wi-Fi antenna to the corner of the heat shield so it'll be easy to dismantle as needed. It's also a great spot as it's out of the way of the GDMU. Editing Pager here. Now listen, some of you guys watching this right now aren't subscribed. And if you want to help out this channel, help out my little shop, it'd be really awesome of you if you'd hit that subscribe button, maybe hit a like. I better get back to work. Alright, thanks. Bye.
Shut up.
Let's test the installation and make sure that everything went well. Then, we'll look and listen to 4 games to see how the new mod compares to the RetroTink 5X Pro. Let me know if you can tell when the auto switches between the two during the clips, and what you think of the side-by-side comparison down in the comments below. Everything is looking pretty good with the system turned on so far. Press both the L and R triggers right on the D-pad and the B button at the same time to enter the online screen display. Go down into System, and then the debug self-test to verify that everything is hooked up properly to the gem. With the test giving us all hearts, it's time to test a few games.
The American Midwestern town, Raccoon City, has been completely decimated due to the T-virus outbreak that was instigated by the international corporation Umbrella. Claire Redfield, who arrived in Raccoon City to search for her lost brother Chris.
Your identification number is WKD4496. Welcome to your new home.
Soul Calibur. Battle 1, fight!
の力を見せたる。左くれ。
退屈だね。
バカンス楽しいです。
こんな争いは無益だ。
It's no question that having HDMI out of the Dreamcast is very nice, but is it worth it? Time to review my thoughts. Installation of the kit felt like it needed intermediate soldering skills. That be due to the starting points not being small enough to need a microscope, but just needed to check for any bridges on the chips. The most difficult piece in my opinion, other than what many would argue would be the flex cable, would be the removal of the serial and AV ports, as it's easy to accidentally damage those pads. The captures are clean, sharp, and not as saturated as what you'd see on the RetroTink5X. But that saturation isn't bad or that noteworthy. The scaling is impeccable, and while I don't care for any of the fancy bells and whistles that the gem does offer, the accurate scaling and colors are what I'm looking for at 1080p. The audio is indistinguishable between either capture. It's just good. However, I will say that the RetroTink is about 3 decibels quieter than what comes out of the gem. Now, is it worth for you? Well, that's for you to decide. While the PS2 and the N64 had clear differences, the differences between this and the RetroTink5X Pro for the Dreamcast is very minimal, with the scaling being the only true outlier. Colors are very clear and vibrant, the sounds are just what I expected without any sort of noise or jitter, and while the pricing between both solutions are stark, it's the point that most will make their choice on. Where the RetroGem is a more cost-effective solution for an individual console, the RetroTink5X Pro provides you solutions for just about anything. One requires quite a bit of elbow grease, the other's plug and play. The only downside to installing the RetroGem is choosing to sacrifice either the serial port or the AV port. I chose to sacrifice the AV port since I'll be using the HDMI out. That's what I got the mod for. And I don't know if there are any peripherals that really need the serial port. So whatever you decide to choose on, that is up to you. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So till next time, take care. Bye bye!